Now, it's true that the techniques in this book will give you the means to unlock your potential, but be aware, there's always someone stronger. I guarantee if you're a member of the human race, there's someone whose power dwarfs yours by a factor of millions. Don't entertain any illusions about becoming the greatest fighter in the universe. Now, this isn't to say you can't become great. With true mastery of martial arts, you could become a being that would be considered godlike scant years ago. But don't treat life as a competition. It's not about competing. It's about bettering yourself. From Groundbreaking Science by Sun Go. So I arrived just over there, Tien recounted, between those mountains. Krillin got there about the same time as me. I could already sense Nail and Yamcha inside, along with the strange key we'd all sensed before. Inside? Goku asked. Well, it's gone now, but there was a fortress here, half buried in the ice. Not long ago. Tien and Krillin stood side by side looking up at the imposing fortress. It was made of black, highly reflective metal, and covered in ominous spikes and ridges. I don't like the look of that, Krillin said anxiously. Man, I wish we had a Super Saiyan or something to throw at it. Come on, Tien argued. We don't need Goku or anybody. We've been practicing martial arts our whole life. We've both been trained by King Kai, the Lord of Worlds. We're the two strongest humans on the planet. There's nothing in there we can't handle, okay? Alright. Krillin nodded, and they began to stride up to the cavernous archway, melting the snow around them with their auras. The entrance immediately became a tunnel which seemed to stretch on endlessly into the darkness. Hey, Krillin cocked his head to one side. You hear... He stopped talking and started moving. 4 short, black creatures burst out from the snow, instantly surrounding the two fighters and leaping at them, red eyes gleaming in the gloom. Tien leaned back, dodging 2 swipes and preparing to counterattack. Krillin was already in the air, grabbing the first creature by the neck and slamming it headfirst into the ground. Tien swung an open-handed chop, severing the right hands of the 2 monsters attacking him as they attacked again, then punched twice in rapid succession, sending them both flying back into the wall. Not bad. Krillin grinned, relaxing. We make a pretty good team, huh? Yeah. Tien agreed, checking that all 4 of their attackers were incapacitated. Not at all like when we were rivals. Remember those days? Yeah, when you were a total ass and broke Yamcha's leg when he was already down? Sure, I remember. Don't remind me. The reformed warrior grumbled. Hey, Krillin crouched over one of the fallen creatures, examining it closely. Funny. These things look kind of like the Cybermen the Saiyans used when they attacked Earth. He shrugged. These things are a lot more powerful though, whatever they are. I guess our training over the years has really paid off. Tell me about it. Tien said as they walked on. It's just that in recent years all we ever seem to fight are overwhelmingly powerful monsters. Let's hope this enemy's in our league because it looks like we're on our own here. That's just it, Krillin muttered, melting ice slushing around his feet. I'm really not sure if we can handle it. We got so used to helping from the sidelines. Come on, Krillin. Have a little more faith in yourself than that. I'm trying, believe me. The tunnel finally opened out into a wide, ice-coated chamber, totally empty. The floor was also ice, with deep water beneath. Just what is this place? Krillin wondered. I don't know. Tien looked around, searching for an exit. I'm starting to like it less and less. Something caught his eye. Look out! They jumped away, Tien left and Krillin right, as the ice beneath them began to crack. As they skidded to a halt, it burst out from underneath. A fat, lumpy yellow being wearing only a dark red jacket, its misshapen maw opened in a fang-toothed leer. The martial artist duo were preparing to attack this new enemy, when a whirring noise emanated from the ceiling. A large hatch opened up, from which hundreds of hovering mechanical drones poured, electricity crackling up and down shimmering metal blades that protruded from all sides of the robots. I've got the big guy! Tien shouted above the buzz of the descending machines. Cover me! Gotcha! Krillin leapt into the air, flying over to the opposite corner of the room and drawing the drones away from Tien. You know, I'm starting to think somebody doesn't want us here. Tien faced down the strange creature as it lumbered towards him, hooked claws wavering in anticipation. Oh, you want some of this? The 3-eyed warrior yelled, challenging the beast to attack. It did so, right on cue, and as it closed the distance, he raised his hands in a triangle formation. Try me! The yellow bolt of energy lanced out from between his hands, slamming into the creature's belly and making a huge dent. But no sooner had it done so, than the thing just grinned at him, flexed its rolls of fat, and its doughy body sprang back into shape. More than that, it reflected Tien's blast right back at him, crashing into his body full force. Meanwhile, Krillin swooped and dived around the room, dodging between swarms of drones with artful precision. I'm starting to get tired of this. Let's try a more direct solution, shall we? He came to a halt in midair, throwing a 2-handed energy wave into the center of the room. And go! With a quick hand motion, He split it into hundreds of smaller blasts, arcing every which way, homing in on each individual drone and smashing it to dust. When it was done, he looked down at the creature Tien was fighting, which was standing in front of a rapidly expanding smoke cloud. The beast hissed, stomping towards the center of the cloud. Oh man, that's not good, Krillin thought. Wait a minute. Tien's power hasn't dropped at all. Did he really have time to block? No, wait. Now it's increasing. Kaioken! The smoke blew away, scattered by the wave of force that rolled out from Tien's body as a red aura enveloped him. Hey, ugly! He said, raising his fist. Ever heard of the Four Witches technique? Haven't used this one in a while. With a grunt, he forced his ki into physical form, manifesting as a second pair of arms sprouting from his shoulders, above the first. So you can withstand a lot of punishment. How much, I wonder? Hi! Putting on a burst of speed, he rocketed into the bewildered creature, his four fists flying furiously. Punch after red-tinged punch rained down on the blob-like monster, supported by the occasional flat-handed deflection whenever it made a clumsy swipe with its claws. The seconds dragged by, with no relief for Tien's opponent, until finally the pummeling was too much. Its eyes rolled up in its head, its short limbs gave one last flail, and it flopped backwards, falling right through the ice and sinking into the depths below. It seems these two warriors are more powerful than you anticipated. They have bested Misokatsu.
Oh? Indeed.
In fact, it is quite likely one of both of them is superior to the scar-faced one. I warned you not to use the control chamber's second charge so hastily on him. There's no way it'll recharge in time to use it on these two.
Don't worry, old friend. We have the demon himself. None of the others matter.
I suppose you're right. As for these two, send the other bio-warriors.
I shall. Where one failed, two might well triumph.
Aside from the one that led back to the entrance, there was only one corridor out of the water room, so Tien and Krillin sprinted down it. Shortly, it opened out into a pitch-black room. Hey, what gives? Tien yelled into the darkness. Yeah, what's with all this empty room crap? Krillin agreed. Just who are you, where are you, and what have you done with our friends?
You are not welcome here!
A scratchy voice hissed from overhead. Blindingly bright lights flashed on, revealing them to be standing in a large, sandy room. In fact, it appeared to be a stadium of some kind.
Now meet the rest of my bio-warriors!
The voice continued. On cue, two figures appeared silhouetted in the blazing lights. Krillin and Tien readied themselves as the bio-warriors, one bulky muscular, one tall, lean, and slender. Charge.
Ibifuria! Kishimi!
The voice screeched.
Destroy them!
Sounds simple enough, Krillin grinned. This time I've got the big guy, if you say so. Tien said, stepping up to intercept the thin one. The entire fight was made disconcerting due to the dizzying brightness. All four fighters only ever appeared as black outlines against the dazzling glow that surrounded them. Krillin cupped his hands by his side as the large bio-warrior faced off against him. Kamehameha! It launched its signature energy wave straight at the imposing creature, which didn't even attempt to dodge, but instead made an almost identical motion to the Kamehameha wave technique, throwing out a storm of icy ki.
Toketsu Ken!
It hissed. Krillin had just enough time to think, hey, this one speaks, before the frosty blast overwhelmed his Kamehameha, hurling him backwards. Shaking his head to clear the dizziness, he tried to stand, only to find one leg encased in a block of ice and stuck to the floor. Oh, that's not good. No ordinary ice either. I can't break it. On the other side of the room, Tien was on the defensive as a skinny bio-warrior swung both arms frantically at him, having moments before sprouted what seemed to be biological cables from each arm, wrapping them around its forearms, igniting them with menacing arcs of electricity, and beginning to swing them at its stubborn human opponent. Tien dodged back, left, then right, trying to analyze the creature's attack pattern. Finally, he saw an opening, stepping in with a vicious right that caught it across the jaw, stunning it. Then he threaded his fingers together in a two-handed upward swing, launching the bio-warrior into the air. Time for another classic! Volleyball Fist! He flew up above his flying enemy, preparing to hit it back down to the ground two-handed. Spike! Without warning, it vanished. No key signature. Nothing. It appeared behind him just as suddenly. Instant transmission! He realized, finding himself with no time to dodge as it slashed down his back with an electrified arm, sending waves of pain coursing through his body. The bulky bio-warrior slowly approached its trapped enemy. Krillin grimaced. Gotta break out! Kaioken! Ha! In a blaze of crimson light, the ice shattered and he flipped backwards to his feet. Keeping the Kaioken aura burning steadily, he rushed in, throwing an upwards elbow strike that struck the Bio Warrior just below the neck, driving the breath from its lungs. As it staggered about, he dashed around behind it, sending it crashing to the ground with a back kick. It dug its nails into the ice, screeching to a halt and standing up. Quickly, it fired its Kamehameha-like ice attack again, a desperate look on its face.
Toketsu Ken!
Sorry, not gonna work twice! Krillin raised one hand, rapidly forming a spinning energy disc and launching it right into the ice beam's path. Kienzan! The razor-edged attack scythed through the beam, neatly bisecting it so that the two halves were diverted off to either side of Krillin. Meanwhile, the Kienzan continued on its path towards the Bio Warrior, who just ducked in time, a deep gash opening up on its chest from the glancing hit. It bellowed in pain, but before it could recover, Krillin was right in front of it, drawing his fist back. Hyah! One Kaioken-powered punch brought the creature down for good. Tien bit his lip, drawing blood, focusing on the tiny point of pain in an attempt to block out the sensation of the larger agony of his opponent's electrocution attack. Spinning, he flung it off his back, disentangling himself and resuming his combat-ready stance. I bet this light's meant to disorient us, huh? This is nothing! He flicked his body left to avoid another arcing swing from the grinning monster. Seeing his opportunity, he jumped over its next strike, closing the distance and bringing its face right up to his. How about the full brightness of the sun? Solar flare! At his command, the blinding attack shone forth, outshining the dazzling ambience of the room and sending the shrieking creature leaping away. Howling in pain, the Bio Warrior jumped back, then vanished again. Trying to sneak up on me with instant transmission. Well, too bad. He raised one hand up to his shoulder, nonchalantly pointing one finger backwards. Dodon! The oblivious Bio Warrior materialized, electrified appendages raised. Ray! Only to be hit full force in the face by a thin, yellow beam, bowling it over and knocking it out cold. Sorry, Tien said as he lowered his hand, but you did make it pretty easy for me. In that panic state, you weren't likely to be thinking too clearly. Where else would you appear but directly behind me? He looked over to Krillin, noting the smaller warrior had also been victorious, and the two exchanged a thumbs up. Not bad so far, huh, Krillin? Sure, pretty good workout, Krillin agreed, grinning. Hope we find out who's in charge of this mess, though. I'm kinda getting bored of beating on sideshow freaks and remote-controlled planes. Again, only one exit to the room. Again, they left promptly, without ceremony, both anxious to know what had become of their friends.
Dr. Wheelo!
The raspy-voiced, elderly scientist squawked.
They've beaten our Bio Warriors! Damn those weak excuses for guard dogs! They'll be here any second now!
Calm yourself, Kochin, you fool. A deep voice rumbled from the shadows. We still hold the upper hand. The strongest being on this planet is ours to command. The hidden speaker paused. Ah, here they are now. Calm yourself and eliminate them. This is the critical point I need not remind you. I will not tolerate setbacks. Eliminate them quickly.
But of course.
Dr. Kochin turned to see Tien and Krillin entering the darkened laboratory. Their eyes locked on him, and he smiled, his inner fears concealed by the need to maintain composure.
Ah, I see you've made it past our security. Welcome, simpletons. Welcome to die!
There was a long pause. Krillin opened his mouth. Krillin closed his mouth. Finally, he managed to say, "What?"
Kochin stammered. Sorry, that sounded better in my head.
Tien raised an eyebrow, a motion that had an interesting effect on his third eye. Your head must be a scary place.
Enough of this!
Kochin struck the floor with his ornate dragon-headed cane.
Remove them!
Who are you talking? Tien began, and his eyes widened. He stepped forwards in a flash, intercepting Yamcha, who was leaping at them out of the dark. The two hung there for a second, then separated, Yamcha dropping into a mobile, offensive stance. Tien noticed he was wearing his turtle school gi. So, he came out here looking for trouble. What happened to him? Hey Yamcha, not to point out the obvious, but you're kind of attacking the wrong guy here.
Rah!
Yamcha lunged, swinging a high kick at Tien, who somersaulted over it, propelling himself backwards with his ki and landing some distance away. Alright, if it's a fight you want, whatever kind of mind control they put you on, I'll beat it out of you!
You may find that a difficult proposition,
Kochin chuckled.
He already has a deep-seated desire to defeat you. Amplifying that was not difficult. You'll find his tenacity truly extraordinary.
Alright then. It's me you want? Tien raised his guard. Let's do it! He and Yamcha sped off around the room, periodically clashing and shaking the cavernous chamber with the shockwaves generated by the opening moves of their battle. With each strike, Both fighters used a little more power, slowly building towards their maximum. Krillin looked warily over at Dr. Kochin. I wouldn't be so calm if I were you. What if I said, let him go or I'll start blowing limbs off? He raised a hand, energy flickering between his fingers.
Then I'd say, attempting to do so would merely play right into our hands. You are no match for our magnificent plan.
Kochin cackled. Let me guess. You've got some convoluted psychological method of getting me to stand in the right spots so you can do some kind of mind control thing on me.
Ah, good guess. But unfortunately our mind control device is still recharging. And anyway, that plan is far inferior to any plan that involves a cane laser!
His arm snapped up with far too much speed for a normal human, let alone one his age, flipping open the top and pressing a small button. And indeed, a high-powered laser burst from the cane, lancing straight towards Krillin, who gathered his energy in one foot and swung it upwards, kicking the laser bolt straight up into the air, deflecting it away from him. He lowered his leg, wincing with the jarring pain. Okay, you're having way too much fun here. Just who the hell are you people?
I can't blame you for not recognizing me. You are hardly the kind of intellectual whose social circles me and my glorious comrade once graced,
Kochin preened.
My name is Dr. Kochin, but of infinitely more importance is my comrade Dr. Wheelo. He is the future ruler of this world.
His eyes misted over as he spoke.
Yes, the world used to mock us. Human beings never understood our genius. Not even the tragic avalanche all those years ago could stop us. Though his body was destroyed, Dr. Wheelo's magnificent mind lives on. Such is his genius, that even with only his notes, I was able to construct a machine which saved his brain from the frostbite that consumed his body, that sustains him to this day.
Wonderful. You're taking orders from a brain in a jar, Krillin said dryly. He dodged to the right on instinct as Tien and Yamcha appeared next to him, arms locked, pushing against each other. At this close distance, Krillin was able to see the physical changes Yamcha had undergone. The whites of his eyes were an unhealthy red, and a vein-like plastic circlet adorned his head. The two fighters' auras sprung to life, their power building, burning first white, then red as they simultaneously tapped into the Kaioken technique. Just when the light and heat had reached unbearable intensity, Tien shone even brighter for a brief moment, and Yamcha was hurled back. Pressing his advantage, Tien darted off in pursuit of his opponent. Krillin turned back to Dr. Kochin. So how exactly are you planning to rule the world? I mean, it's not like everyone will just roll over and let you waltz into the royal palace.
Oh, but they will,
Kochin enthused, rubbing his hands together gleefully.
Did you hear about the recent disaster in Nikki Town?
Yeah, Krillin nodded. A sudden heat wave. The surrounding forest burned down, all the crops burned up. People were dying of heat stroke. It's practically a desert now. He thought for a second. Ah, hell, that was you, wasn't it?
Indeed it was,
Kochin cackled.
And that was merely a taste of our power. Our ultimate work is nearly complete. A device with the power to wipe all life from this planet. With it, we can hold the world to ransom, live as kings!
Good for you. Not natural deaths then, Krillin decided. Note to self, when we're done here, gather the Dragon Balls.
Oh, it is,
Kochin continued.
You see, we have the brain power. We have our weapon. All we need now is a body. A mortal shell to house the fabulous mind of Dr. Wheelo. And we've managed to find one that fits the bill just about perfectly.
Enough of this. Dr. Wheelo's computerized voice rumbled from above them. Kill them and prepare my mind for transfer.
As you command.
Kochin grinned, extending one hand.
Well, it's been fun. I do so love to gloat. But now we must part ways.
With a dramatic sweep of his arm, he drew back his sleeve. A loud whirring noise emanated from within him, and his arm suddenly underwent a metamorphosis. Fingers became gun barrels, an ammo belt burst from his wrist, gears and pistons emerged from beneath his skin. And under a second, his hand had become a chain gun.
Now hold still!
Kochin opened fire, tearing up the floor beneath Krillin, who hastily dodged. What the hell is that thing? He wondered, used to being able to easily avoid bullets, but finding himself only barely faster than the unique projectiles Kochin was firing at him.
What? Hey, stop! Damn it! Enough already!
He hopped back and forth, feeling the split streams of the shots as they whistled by, inches from him. Tien and Yamcha's battle paused as they landed on opposite sides of the room, each surveying his opponent. Simultaneously, they charged. Wolfang! Volleyball! Fist! They chorused, clashing together in an explosion of energy and leaping off again. Krillin backflipped away, taking cover behind a bulkhead jutting out from the wall. Okay. Think. He smiled. Got it. Multiform, go! Twin clones of the martial artist dived out from behind his cover, making straight for Kochin.
Ha! I know this technique. It won't work. It cuts your power and speed in half.
Kochin yelled above the din his weapon was making, firing on the lead clone. However, as the bullets tore through his image, the copy of Krillin vanished, and the remaining one rapidly put on speed, reaching Kochin in the blink of an eye. One hand sliced downwards, severing the gun arm in a spray of flailing wires and sparks. The other swung sideways, catching the scientist on the side of the head and sending him sprawling to the floor, out cold. Impressive, Dr. Wheelo noted, using super speed to create the illusion of two of you. Then when he attacked, revealing that copy to merely be an afterimage, and that you still had your full power. You almost fooled my senses too. Almost? Krillin frowned. Why didn't you warn him then? He was beginning to bore me. I knew he would fail, which is why I've already sent for the one who will kill you. I don't like the sound of this. Wheelo chuckled. Indeed, I can hardly blame you. You have exceeded my expectations getting this far. But you will all fall before the demon, Piccolo. So the Z-Fighters can certainly handle themselves. But will they be able to handle Dr. Wheelo? And Piccolo? Wasn't he absorbed by Nail? Well, there's only one way to find out. Tune in a few seconds for Chapter 61. See you in a bit. Piccolo? Krillin scratched his head. Isn't Piccolo dead? If that's so, Wheelo boomed. Then please explain this. Piccolo, kill him. A voice yelled. Krillin wheeled, feeling the rush of air that heralded an impact and raising both hands to block. 5 times Kaioken! He caught 2 swinging fists, twisted and ducked under his attacker's reach, then planted a swift kick to their stomach that drove them skidding back across the floor. Panting slightly, he powered down, finally taking the time to study the attacker. Nail? A slow smile crept across his face. You scared me for a minute there. That there isn't Piccolo. His name's Nail. Dr. Wheelo paused, processor-augmented brain wearing away. Pardon me if I find it difficult to trust you. How many people are there walking around with green skin, pointed ears, and antennae? You'd be surprised, Krillin said. Then a worrying thought struck him. Hold on. You had to amplify Yamcha's will to be Tien, right? You can't make someone do something totally against their nature. But as far as I know, Nail doesn't have a shred of evil in him. What? A sudden chill came over the small fighter. Something about Nail. His eyes. It wasn't the red color that was undoubtedly caused by the vein-patterned mind control device adorning his head. It was something deeper, more subtle. Krillin wouldn't have noticed it at all, had he not once seen the exact same look from another. Piccolo, he breathed. He really is in there, isn't he? The bastards just brought him to the surface! He clenched his fists, turning to face Wheelo's life support tank, embedded high up in the wall. You don't know what you're dealing with here! Trust me, you don't want to let this guy loose! Nobody's safe! And if he has all of Nail's power... Wheelo laughed cruelly. Fool! Do the words mind control mean nothing to you? Once I've seized upon a desire, total war on humanity in this case, the subject is mine to command. I assure you I'm quite safe from you. You, on the other hand, Piccolo, attack. It seems not even he knows who the strange creature is. I suppose it matters not. Whoever he once was, he will shortly be merely a shell. The perfect fighting body to house the perfect mind. Tien crashed to the ground, sliding on his back and colliding with the wall. Damn it all! I had an opening, but the only way to effectively exploit it was with a lethal strike, and I hesitated! He pretended to be stunned by the impact as Yamcha followed up, sprinting towards him. I won't fail this time! Yamcha's sweeping hand sliced into the floor, carving into the metal, but Tien sprang up, kicking Yamcha's other hand out of the way before he could block. I'll end this right now! Hiya! With a full-bodied shout, he thrust both hands forwards, propelling an invisible wave of ki at Yamcha's head. The shockwave hit dead on target, causing the long-haired bandit to keel over backwards, tumbling head over heels for some distance before coming to a rest. Ow. Slowly, he sat up, rubbing his head. What? Tien? The mind control device on his head, cracked by Tien's ki, began to fall apart, pieces of plastic and twisted wire scattering down to the floor beneath him. Did all that just happen? Yeah, Tien nodded. Wow, Sorry, man. Hey, it's okay. Tien waved it away. Not your fault. He took you by surprise, right? Yeah. Hey, I did pretty good though, huh? Never thought I'd last that long against you. Well, normally you probably wouldn't be trying to actually kill me, so that might have been something of an advantage. Tien indicated Krillin, facing off against Piccolo. Come on, we don't have time to talk. Right, Krillin will need all the help he can get for this one. Yamcha agreed, leaping to his feet. The three human warriors stood side by side, facing the demonic Namekian. So, this is Piccolo now, huh? Yamcha asked. Yeah, Krillin said, watching their opponent warily. Just like old times, huh? The half-hearted attempt at humor didn't receive a laugh, all were wondering if they stood a chance. You just have to destroy the headband, Tien reminded them. It should change him back to normal. Piece of cake, huh? Krillin grumbled. It began slowly. Wary, shuffling movements, then cautious steps. The humans circled to try and surround Piccolo, who paced like a cage animal, twisting as his eyes snapped to one fighter, then the next. The footwork continued, the warriors' circles of movement expanding until they were crossing the room back and forth, watching each other the whole time. In each combatant's head, the oncoming fight played itself out. Potential lines of attack, techniques used and countered, tactics considered, until finally someone attacked. Yamcha, of course, but the others soon followed. The distance closed until they stood at arm's length. The battle had still not begun in earnest. Feint. A tap. A brush. A narrow, deliberate miss. Testing the enemy's defenses. Piccolo's wild movements and still increasing speed were an effective counter for the humans' advantage in numbers. It seemed to face every direction at once, never leaving an opening. Eventually, Krillin decided he would just make an opening, going for an all-out attack. Alright, enough of this! Sweeping his arm out, Piccolo struck first, knocking Krillin to the ground. At once, Tien and Yamcha counterattacked from behind, and Piccolo spun in time to catch both punches. But while Yamcha had put all his concentration into that one attack, Tien was thinking further ahead. At the same time, his knee swung up, catching Piccolo on the chin. He flinched, but didn't retreat, kicking at Tien in retaliation. The three-eyed man grunted in pain, grasping his shoulder where he'd been struck and jumping away. Yamcha took the opportunity to try another attack, but received an elbow to the face. Piccolo straightened up as his three enemies stood, rubbing his aching jaw. Well, it seems I underestimated you. I might have to use a little more power. His ki shot up abruptly, smacking into their spiritual senses like a brick wall. This was unexpected, Dr. Wheelo noted. He's capable of coherent thought. Usually the subject goes into a berserker rage when presented with an enemy. It doesn't matter, as long as he eliminates these pests before the mind transfer is ready. Okay! Tien gritted his teeth, throwing off his cloak. There was an audible thump as the weighted training garments hit the floor, leaving cracks where it fell. His power's gone up a significant amount, and I can tell it still isn't his maximum. At our current power levels, we don't stand a chance. Right. Yamcha cracked his knuckles. Time to kick it up a notch. I've been training hard. I can handle the Kaioken properly now, up to a 5 times power up. So don't worry about me. Sounds good to me. Krillin grinned, and the three warriors initiated the Kaioken World King's Fist simultaneously, rapidly powering up to 5 times their base level. Piccolo nodded. Impressive. He beckoned with one finger. Let's go! The fighters attacked, and instantly the air was filled with a blur of high-speed movement. Piccolo danced between the human strikes with ease, still only using less than half his full power. You call this an attack? Let me show you real strength! He swung both arms out, smashing Krillin and Yamcha out of the air, then somersaulting backwards over Tien as he threw a punch, kicking him in the back and flooring him with brutal force. Is that really all you've got? The Demon King growled. This won't do! I need a real enemy! You've got one right here! Tien shouted, standing his ground. Krillin jumped over next to him. As one, they powered up to even higher levels. Kaioken times 20! They leapt forwards, and before Piccolo could even raise a hand to defend himself, smashed 2 fists into his abdomen. Having knocked him off balance, they aimed for the device on his head, but at the last second he regained enough initiative to jump back out of range, stumbling a bit as he landed. From that low 5 times level straight to their maximum, Piccolo realized. It seems you aren't playing around. Very well. If you want to play it serious, then I'll just have to grace you with my full power. Previously, his ki had been like a mist surrounding him, a frosty bite in their minds. Now, though, it blazed like a fire, a mad drummer pounding in their heads. This, Krillin gasped. This is... Piccolo laughed, a grating, guttural sound. Impressed? You should be. Nail's power already surpassed that of an unmastered Super Saiyan, perhaps even rivaling the bulky Ascended form. How long has it been since you last saw him fight? A year? He's had plenty of time to improve. His grin spread from ear to ear. Not to mention, he never really knew the full potential of the Super Namek. I've kept a not insignificant portion of our full power locked away inside him along with me. It sustained me, allowed me to survive within him, and grew along with my malice for my soft-hearted host. Now our combined might is mine to command! Alright, enough talk, Tien declared. We can't keep up this kind of power for long. So, Krillin! Now? Now. Tien and Krillin blurred forwards, two blazing red figures crashing into Piccolo, who slowly backed away as he blocked the incoming barrage of attacks with some effort. Not bad. You have more potential than I've given you credit for. Even a basic Super Saiyan wouldn't last long against an onslaught like this. However, my power is somewhat. He dropped back onto his hands, thrusting both legs up and kicking his attackers each square in the face. Greater! They turned the fall into a controlled landing, immediately charging back into the fight, trying to catch Piccolo off balance. He hopped up to his feet, swaying around Tien's flying kick and swinging the flat of his hand around at Krillin's neck. However, it merely met an afterimage, and Krillin appeared behind him, fist aimed at Piccolo's head. Grunting with some effort, the Namekian spun, bringing one hand up to catch the punch before it hit him. But this sudden strenuous move to defend his back left his front open, and Tien exploited the opportunity, hammering the demon with a vicious chain of attacks. Piccolo fell back, snarling. Damn it! One-on-one this be easier, but both together are too much. It's damned hard to separate them. He resumed his defensive stance, watching the pair of fighters approach, waited as they raised their arms, focusing ki into their fists, then without warning sprang into motion, zipping across the room in a sudden burst of speed. The human warriors swung in empty air, each wasting a large amount of energy on their powerful attacks. Stumbling, they fell to their knees, breathing heavily as their Kaioken auras faded. Interesting, Piccolo nodded. Good plan, potentially. You assumed I'd stand my ground, try and counterattack, underestimate your speed and take those hits. Too bad for you, I noticed your extremely focused energy at the last second. I knew the augmented strength and speed of those attacks would be too much for me to handle, so I figured I'd let you waste your energy without having to take the hit myself. I guess it paid off. He grinned toothily. A Kaioken is an extraordinary technique, but it's no good in a war of attrition. You'll lose all your strength too quickly. And on that note, die! Piccolo roared, leaping at the tired fighters and building energy in both hands. The counterattack, when it came, was a result of careful planning and silent movement. He knew he'd only get one shot. He knew the element of surprise was his one advantage. And he knew a 5 times increase wasn't enough. Wolfang Kaioken! Hi! Yamcha burst out from beneath the ground, slamming into Piccolo from underneath, elbow first, and following up with a close-range volley of attacks. A two-handed Ki sent Piccolo flying, but the demon managed to shield his head and the mind control device. And Yamcha didn't stop to appreciate his handiwork, immediately firing his strongest Ki blast. Kamehameha! The beam smashed Piccolo straight through a wall, shockwaves rippling out behind it, cracking the ice outside for over a mile back. Somewhat spent as well, the scarred warrior helped his companions up. You guys okay? Never better, Krillin joked. It was a great move there. You never saw it coming. Thanks, Yamcha said darkly. But I don't think it finished him. I can sense him coming back this way. Alright, let's just break the thing on his head and be done with it, Tien said firmly. Right. Krillin raised his fists. Let's do this! Together the three ran towards the opening in the wall, just as Piccolo charged back through it, boiling with anger. I'll never be defeated by a bunch of humans! He spat, throwing a brutal, uncontrolled punch that cracked into Yamcha's face, hurling him limply away. I won't allow it! He caught Tien's fists, twisting the man's arm painfully, at the same time letting fly an energy blast with his other hand, blowing Krillin across the room. Pathetic. You can't even maintain a decent power level for more than a few seconds. Enough with this cliche villain crap! Tien swung his free hand up, Kaioken aura flaring brightly, but Piccolo's head flicked sideways. A thin cut opened up on the Namekian's cheek as Tien's fist brushed past him. Then he reached up and caught Tien by the wrist, pulling the martial artist towards him to add momentum. He unhurriedly kneed him in the stomach, then let go, watching Tien fall to the floor next to his comrades. What an interesting effect the control device has on this one, Dr. Wheelo observed. Hopefully he should still be subservient to my commands, once his desire to kill these three has been fulfilled. As soon as he's done, I'll initiate the transfer. Well, Piccolo raised one hand, building energy between his fingers. Enough fun for now. This might be it. Krillin winced, preparing to try and dodge. We could have just been a little faster. Piccolo leered at the dismayed faces on his enemies. If you plan on making peace with your gods, now's the time! The ki blast he was preparing grew as his power intensified. What? His eyes widened as a previously hidden energy source burst to life, shooting across the room behind him. Another one, eh? Before he could make an attempt to face this new presence, they fired an energy beam in his direction. He smirked. Such an insignificant power, and casually blocked it with his forearm. Is that all you can do? Whoever you are, you're even weaker than— You're wide open! Piccolo swung around to see Tien bearing down on him. The demon lashed out, catching his attacker in the chest. But Tien fought through the pain, grabbing Piccolo's attacking arm between his hands, swinging the demon over his head and slamming him into the floor. Piccolo felt blood rising in his mouth, the ground buckling beneath him. Krillin appeared in a blur of speed, directly above him, a triumphant grin on his face. Time seemed to slow down. Realizing he was all but beaten, Piccolo's stomach lurched. It was too late to stop it. Oh shit. Yeah! Thrusting both hands downwards, Krillin launched a powerful ki that drove Piccolo further into the ground. The recoil blasting Krillin up into the air, where, almost completely out of energy, he failed to stop himself arcing ungracefully across the room and painfully bouncing to a halt. Ow! Hey! Nice work, guys! Right. Tien stood up. But who was it that distracted Piccolo? Not Yamcha. This being due to Yamcha currently lying in a heap on the floor, not having yet recovered from the direct hit to the face he'd taken. So who— just little old me. Launch stepped out from the shadows, giving a thumbs up. Tien's face lit up. Hey, you got here after all. So, Break, the little terror finally went to sleep. So, what's the story? Tien shrugged, a little vague on the details. Well, evil scientist, mind control, sort of thing. Oh, okay. Launch pointed over at the downed Namekian, who was slowly stirring. So I heard some of what you were saying before. Is that Nail? Piccolo? What? I'm not quite sure, Krillin admitted. Let's hope he's back to normal, but be on guard just in case. Ugh. Nail stood up, the last remnants of the mind control device falling from his head, friendly light back in his eyes. What happened? Dende stood on the edge of the lookout, talking with his assistant. You still feel homesick sometimes? Mr. Popo asked. Dende shrugged. It comes and goes. Sometimes I think I'd like to see Namek again. Sometimes I think I'd just get bored after having seen all I have. The genie remained silent, sensing his young master had something more to say. But it's more than that. I wonder, do they need me? Am I really that important? What do you mean? You're the guardian of Earth. Yes, but Earth has so many incredible defenders now. I've been observing the battle in the north. Even without the Super Saiyans, they're handling themselves fine. I haven't really contributed at all. But you created the current set of Dragon Balls, Mr. Popo reminded him. Those have seen quite a lot of use recently. Oh yes, wonderful, Dende sighed. What a wonderful job I do of existing. My point is I'm not actually doing anything. It could be any Dragon Clan Namek, maybe one with more experience than me. Much as I hate to interrupt you, the odd-looking man inclined his head slightly to one side. You said you were observing the battle in the north. Yes, what of it? I can't explain it, but I have a terrible feeling. I fear all is not well. No, it seems they've just about got it won, actually, Dende said, smiling. Dr. Wheelo's run out of servants to throw at them. Something flashed in his mind, a realization almost tangibly sharp. Wait, I sense something under the surface. Mr. Popo, we have to go there now! What? I need to warn them, they're not out of danger yet! Dende's grip on his staff tightened with white-knuckled intensity. But my telepathy hasn't developed to a point where I can talk to them from this far away yet. Is there any way we can get there fast? The genie nodded. There is one way. Yeah! Nail's back to normal! Krillin yelled happily. The restored Namekian rubbed his forehead. I don't remember much. I came in here, then some kind of weird red light, and nothing after that. What happened, guys? It's kinda hard to explain. Krillin began to tell him. You were kind of Piccolo for a bit. This left Nail even more confused. Let me summarize. Launch said, patting Nail on the shoulder as he echoed Tien's words. Evil scientist, mind control. Okay? Ah, I see. Nail looked up towards the far wall. I remember. He's over there, huh? Hey Wheelo, the game's up! You're done! If you think so, you're gravely mistaken. The half-dead scientist's voice replied. Appears my reserves are not entirely exhausted. Units 12, 21, 34. Provide a momentary distraction. On cue, 3 of the black Cybermen-looking creatures sprung out of a quickly opening hatch in the floor, aiming themselves directly at Nail, who stood at the front of the group. Expression unchanging, he simply powered up, the force and heat of his expanding aura ripping the creatures apart. What kind of distraction do you call that? One that works. Dr. Wheelo's voice took on an even greater air of smugness, if that was possible. The activation process has begun now. You cannot stop it. Even as he spoke, the wall around his life support tank began to crack and split, sparks of electricity running up and down the room. As I said, I only needed a momentary diversion, and those 3 provided it. What's he doing? Krillin wondered. Whatever it is, Nail muttered. It's starting to feel enormous power. Ah! He grimaced as the full weight of the new key source hit him. Everybody, get out of here, now! He's charging up for something! What? Yamcha, still lying on the floor, finally summoned the strength to sit up. Hey, what's going... He saw the room collapsing around him, heard Nail's warning, and looked up just in time to see the massive energy wave rolling towards them. Oh, come on! He complained, before it engulfed him and everyone else, spreading out in all directions and swallowing up the whole fortress, completely destroying it. Ice flash melted for miles around, creating a miniature ocean right in the middle of the glacier. Nail was the first to pull himself out of the water, heaving Yamcha's beaten-up body onto the ice before clambering out himself. Tien followed, giving Launch a boost as she climbed with him. The 4 fighters lay panting on the ice for a few seconds, before the sensation of the new energy signature getting closer forced them to stand and face it. It was, naturally, a giant robot, rising slowly, leisurely even, out of the ocean. There was little else it could have been. It was black, with blue-ribbed elements of fish-like spines in places, and roughly bipedal. Despite its curved design, it was far from sleek or graceful. What was strange about it, though, was the fact that it had a detectable key, unlike any other mechanical being they'd encountered before. The head portion contained a transparent section, through which Dr. Wheelo's brain was visible. This is bad, Krillin groaned. Maybe we'd have been better able to withstand that attack if we hadn't just used up all of our energy beating the crap out of each other. But right now I don't know if we can put up much of a fight. Just as he finished, Dende and Mr. Popo materialized out of thin air, stood atop a hovering carpet. Dende's face fell, seeing Wheelo's robot body. Damn it! I'm too late! Time to die! Wheelo boomed, raising a gigantic claw-like limb. So Dr. Wheelo's on a rampage now. He seems more menacing this time around than in World's Strongest. How will the Z-Fighters be able to beat him? Or will they be able to beat him? Well, if you read chapter 59, you know that they did beat him, but... Tension! Dang it! You gotta have that. So, stay tuned in a few seconds for chapter 62, where we conclude the World's Strongest mini-arc. See you in a bit. Time to die! Dr. Wheelo's huge mechanical claw, pointed straight at the group of heroes, began to hum with power. Get ready! Tien yelled, raising his hands. Can't guarantee everyone will dodge that. Gotta deflect it. Tri-beam! His key beam shot forwards, colliding in midair with Dr. Wheelo's high-powered laser. He felt the immense pressure crush down on his body as his attack was almost instantly forced back by the stronger force. Double Kamehameha! Thinking quickly, Krillin and Yamcha had formed their hands into a large circle and combined their ki to produce a single, stronger beam. It joined Tien's tri-beam, crashing head-on into Wheelo's attack and combining their force. It's not enough, Yamcha realized. We have to use the Kaioken! No good, Tien said grimly. At this point, we won't be able to sustain it for longer than a few seconds. We'll raise our powers high enough to completely stop that attack in a short period of time. Just as the oncoming attack was beginning to gain momentum, their ki blast started to roll off it like waves off a ship's bow. Launch leapt up from beneath them, darting towards Wheelo's robot exoskeleton while he was distracted. Firing up her Kaioken aura, she pointed a finger at him, yellow ki gathering around it. Dodon Ray, yeah! The Dodon Ray struck Wheelo a glancing blow on his transparent brain capsule, throwing him off balance. His beam lurched upwards, glancing away harmlessly into the air. Tien, Krillin, and Yamcha's combined power hit him full force, blasting him away before he could raise his defenses. Tien fell backwards into a sitting position. Whew. Thanks again, Launch, but be careful from now on. I don't think he'll overlook you again. He realized Nail hadn't taken part in the attack. Nail, you okay? In a manner of speaking. The warrior Namekian was standing protectively in front of Dende and Mr. Popo. I didn't have enough energy left to help you, so I decided to shield them in case you failed. Thankfully, it didn't come to that. He turned to Dende. Why'd you come here? To warn you. Dende pointed to Dr. Wheelo's receding form. I observed you fighting. You thought you won. I tried to warn you Dr. Wheelo himself was a serious threat. But it looks like I was too late. A thought struck him. Hey, quickly! Everyone come here. I'll heal you, he shouted. Hurry before he recovers. Right, we're in no condition to fight him like this. Tien ran over to Dende, the others following close behind, and the Earth's Guardian worked his restorative magic on each of them in turn. Thanks, Dende. I don't know what we'd have done if you hadn't shown up. We better go, Mr. Popo said, nudging his young charge. He appears to be returning. We can't risk you and the Dragon Balls being destroyed in the line of fire. Right. Dende stepped onto the genie's enchanted carpet. Good luck, you guys! The two flickered out of sight, magically returning to the lookout in an instant. Okay. Yamcha looked over towards the approaching robot scientist. You guys ready? As we'll ever be, Launch replied. Let's do it! Dr. Wheelo powered his way through the frigid air towards the ragged group that composed his enemies. How did things get so out of control? Everything's been destroyed because of these interlopers! He saw them now, 5 tiny dots soaring towards him. He increased power to his leg thrusters, making straight for them. The Earth fighters scattered to avoid his charge. Damn you all! He growled. Everything was going perfectly, and you had to interfere! You've ruined everything! Well, excuse me for saving the world, Krillin grumbled, wheeling around to attack. The Kienzan flew from his outstretched hand, slicing through one of the spiked ridges on Wheelo's back as he banked left to avoid it. Interesting turn of phrase, but you haven't won yet. Wheelo swung an arm around, smashing Krillin into an icy peak. But just as he was doing so, Nail shoulder barged him from behind, knocking him forwards. Tien and Launch rose up from beneath him as he swerved around, both crashing into him feet first and bowling him over. The gigantic robot collapsed back into the water below, floundering around with all 4 limbs flailing. For all the power of his mechanical body, Dr. Wheelo was no fighter, and his skill disadvantage was starting to become painfully clear to him. Still, he thought, at least their attacks aren't having much effect. It's hard to stop them hitting me, but my arm is too tough for it to make much of a difference. I'll wear them down eventually. He rose from the water. Are we done playing? Have you realized yet how futile your efforts are? You haven't even made a dent. Krillin jumped back up to join the others in the air. But we're done playing, alright. Let's just go all out straight off and get this done, guys. Sounds good to me. Nell quickly powered up to maximum as the humans raised their Kaioken to its current highest level. Hyah! He fired a 2-handed energy wave straight at Wheelo as the rest of the fighters swerved around to attack the mad scientist's flanks. Such a huge power increase in such a short time, Wheelo observed, activating reserve power supply. His aura grew even larger, drowning out their tiny seeming ki with its immensity. I didn't want to use this body's full power. It's still untested. But you're forcing my hand, it seems. He smacked Nail's blasts out of the way, swiveling to face the other 4. They twisted and soared towards him, leaving trails of burning air in their wake. Wheelo's swiping claws knocked Launch out of the air. Yamcha, changing tactics and coming in from behind, was struck full force by the robot's snake-like tail. Krillin overshot his target slightly and was sent flying as Wheelo barged into him. Tien, however, made it through the Doctor's myriad counterattacks, releasing a barrage of punches and kicks that scratched and dented Wheelo's armored carapace. There's more where that came from! Tri-beam! Ha! The close-range blast was devastatingly effective, blasting Wheelo half a mile back, carving a huge chasm into the frozen ground. Tien didn't relent for a second, firing a whole volley of energy-draining tri-beams. Ha! 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 As each one hammered home, he felt his strength leaving him. Too fast! I'm losing power too fast! I can't keep up an intense attack like the tri-beam with this level of Kaioken power! He gritted his teeth, trying to block out the pain. No! I have to keep going! He's down but not out! Ah! The energy beams became a repetitive thud, each sending up a corona of steam as the ice melted and the underlying sea boiled. Over a minute later, he finally lowered his shaking arms, fighting to keep his eyes open, to sink slowly to the ground and not just fall uncontrollably. That's all I've got, he gasped, taking in heavy breaths. I hope you enjoyed that, bastard. Why does there always have to be someone with the god complex? Especially now with our strongest fighters off planet. Hopefully, though, that did... He felt the enormous ki approaching again, barely diminished. No, it's impossible! And yet, Wheelo floated through the air towards them, a flickering energy barrier encircling its hulking frame. It blinked a couple of times, then dissipated. Can't leave the shield on for too long, he reminded himself. It drains too much power. Then again, they don't know that. He hadn't activated it instantly though, and it wasn't exactly unharmed. Scorch marks covered his body. Cracks were visible in a couple of places, and sparks hissed from exposed wires. However, nothing major was damaged, and his power was as overwhelming as ever. Damn it! Tien pounded his fist into the ground. I put all my energy into that attack, and for nothing! He looked up, hearing Nail's feet tap against the ground as he landed next to the exhausted fighter. Hey you! The Namek called. Dr. Wheelo! It's Wheelo. The robotic menace grumbled. I don't care, Nail growled. You clearly have the upper hand in this battle. Why do you want to move to one of our bodies if we can't beat your robot there? Fool. You think I enjoy inhabiting this ugly metal shell? I want to walk, feel, breathe as a human being. Then my dominion over the planets will be truly fulfilling. Wait, you want to be human, and yet you want to take over my body? Nail scratched his head. You blind or something? Do not mock me, Wheelo snarled. You're close enough, and your power is unchallenged by all save myself. You'll make the perfect host. That's pretty funny, actually. Tien chuckled. He actually thinks he's going to win. Hey! Even if you beat us, Goku will be back soon. And let me tell you, you or I'd be nothing compared to him. You won't stand a chance. Small consolation to you if you're dead, Wheelo retorted, not really believing that there was such a person. Better not tell him about the Dragon Balls, Tien decided, merely smiling confidently. Well, I wouldn't be too sure. Still, Nail shifted to a combat stance. All things considered, I prefer not to die. Any ideas? Nothing coming, but if you need any help, we're here. Launch landed behind them, Krillin and Yamcha by her side. I've got one idea. Tien stood up shakily. A spirit bomb. What? Krillin frowned, skeptical. That was only barely enough to beat Vegeta the first time we fought him. What exactly is it going to do to somebody stronger than Cooler? This one's going to be different, Tien promised. Trust me, but it'll take time. Alright, Nail nodded. I'll be the first line of defense. I'll keep him busy as long as I can. You guys stay around Tien. If I go down, hold him off. Got it? Nods of assent. Good. This had better work, Tien. Trust me. Tien raised his hands to the sky as Nail took off, closing all three eyes and trying to calm himself. Only when you are at peace with yourself can you form a spirit bomb. King Kai's words echoed back to him. Purity of heart is paramount. Any taint, and the energy will reject you. Clearing his mind, he began to gather energy into the attack. First, what little energy he had left, then working outwards, scouring the entire planet, taking a tiny amount of energy from every human, plant, and animal. And not just living things. Even the ocean, the rocks, and the wind had a basic but vast supply of spiritual energy. Planet Earth, please, share your energy with me. Nail made the first strike, a glancing blow that staggered Wheelo back, but the scientist struck back with deadly force, his elbow driving the breath from Nail's lungs. Wheelo made another lunge, but Nail flew over his head, aiming a spinning kick at the vulnerable joint. He hit dead on, completely severing Wheelo's whipcord tail. But even before it splashed down into the ocean, Wheelo was spinning around, kicking Nail away. The warrior Namek's head spun, but he fought to stay in the air. This is no good. I can't keep taking these hits or I won't even last a minute against this guy. He began to whirl around Wheelo like a one-man swarm of bugs, trying to keep him off balance with hit-and-run strikes. Alright, Tien smiled, satisfied. I've drawn energy from the planet Earth, but like Krillin said, this just won't cut it anymore. I just hope this works. Stretching his arms out, he expanded his mind's eye, visualizing other worlds, planets near Earth, stars and solar systems adjacent to Earth's. The stars! So much energy in them, it's incredible! And yet normally, we can't sense it at all. But I've got to be careful not to take too much from anything. Just a tiny proportion from each. Every living thing, every planet, every star. He grinned, feeling the rush of energy. Yes! That's it! Give me the power to beat this guy! Gah! Wheelo made the latest in a series of unsuccessful swings. Enough of this! I can see you're trying to stall me. Whatever those four are up to, I'll put an end to it! No! Nail shouted, eyes widening as Wheelo raised both arms, energy building around each. He began to fire a barrage of energy beams, smashing through the ground and into the ocean floor, carving a line towards the human fighters below. Nail raced to intercept, just managing to reach a blast aimed at the glacier his friend stood on in time. He crossed his arms in front of his chest, pushing all his ki to the front to form an impromptu shield. The impact was vicious, but he withstood it. then realized there was one final beam, already shooting past him, aimed straight at the group. He peered alongside it with a desperate burst of super speed, swinging his leg around and hoping to deflect the attack with a kick. No time to reconcentrate my ki. Just have to hope I'm tough enough. Gah! The beam detonated, going no further. However, when he looked down, his stomach lurched. His leg was gone. Completely destroyed! My body might be going into shock. I don't even feel any pain yet. Dr. Wheelo hovered towards him. Impressive. You saved your friends, but lost a limb. How unfortunate. I guess you won't be able to fight anymore. Don't count on it! Hissing with pain, Nail regenerated his leg, the new limb bursting messily out of the stump of the old. Regenerating, unfortunately, always hurt more than losing the body part in the first place, and in this case both pains hit him at once as his brain finally registered the injury. Interesting, but it seems like that took a lot out of you. You can't have much fight left. Nail scowled. We'll see. Hey, Tien? Yamcha asked. You were glowing with power at first, but it stopped. Where'd it go? Where's the spirit? He glanced up. The... He looked up again, blinking. Spirit bomb. Wow! Krillin gaped, noticing the ball of twinkling blue energy floating high above their heads. That thing must be 50 meters across! Nothing could survive that! He looked anxiously over at Wheelo. Hey, it doesn't look like Nail can last much longer, Tien. Throw it! No! Tien grunted. It's not enough. I need more time. Yeah, whoa! Krillin spun around as a heavy impact heralded Nail's half-conscious body hurling ungracefully towards them. Krillin jumped to intercept, caught Nail and laid him on the ground next to Tien. Alright, looks like it's up to us. Yamcha, with me. Launch, you be our last line of defense. If you see Yamcha or me make an opening though, take it. Got it! Launch grinned. Kick his ass! Oh, because that's likely, Yamcha moaned, following Krillin through the air towards Wheelo. Kaioken! Ha! They shouted in unison. Yamcha went straight for the transparent brain covering, firing a ki blast from each hand as a distraction, then drawing back his fists in preparation to try cracking the weak point. Wolfang! Wolfang nothing! Wheelo spat, surrounding his body with pulsing red energy before activating his thrusters, and powering forwards into Yamcha, knocking him aside as easily as swatting an insect. Okay, here goes! Krillin twisted under Wheelo's defenses, planting a two-handed punch in his abdomen, and throwing his energy out towards him to send the doctor reeling away. Gotcha! Now, while he's off guard, he focused all his boosted power into his hands, then released it in one blast. Kaiohameha! The light outshone everything for a brief moment, then vision flooded back, revealing... He dodged it? Krillin moaned. I guess that's the weakness of only powering up the technique. If my body doesn't have the same boost, I lose speed. He must have taken advantage of that. Enough of you. Wheelo lunged, grabbing Krillin around the waist in one huge claw. I've had enough of you all! Arcs of electricity surged down his arm, passing into Krillin and racking his body. After a few seconds of the punishing attack, he tossed the small fighter away, floating down to the ground and facing Tien. Launch was nowhere to be seen. The three-eyed warrior stood resolutely, hands raised. I've gathered all I can from the surrounding planets and stars, but it still isn't enough. His power's enormous! What are you doing? Wheelo wondered aloud. Raising your arms like that. What are you hoping to achieve, I wonder? He paused his implacable advance. Something stupid, no doubt. Whatever it is, you don't have much time. I'm not a patient man. Or are you surrendering? Tien stared down the gigantic robot, trying to stay calm. Nail. Krillin. Yamcha. Launch. Whatever energy you have left, give it to me now. Lend me your power. Just how long are you going to stand there? Wheelo demanded. Are you frozen to that spot or something? Just wait, Tien smiled. You'll see. I have no time for this foolishness! Wheelo roared, raising an arm and charging up energy. Once you're dead, there'll be nothing to stop me transferring to the Green One's body. I know he's still alive! Crap! Tien winced. Can't dodge it without losing control of the spirit bomb. And if that happened, it could destroy the whole planet. Do your worst! If you insist. Wheelo fired, and Tien shut his eyes, bracing himself. But before it hit home, Launch darted out from behind cover, throwing herself in the path of the attack. With a monumental effort, she managed to block it, but the impact sent her sprawling, most of her energy spent. Wheelo chuckled. I knew she'd be around somewhere. I reckon that was the most effective way of drawing her out. Now you've got nobody left to help you. He paused. You still haven't moved! What kind of strategy do you call this? Why so impatient? Tien chided, feeling a sudden flow of energy from his friends. Nail, Krillin, Yamcha, Launch. All were just awake enough to pour their last reserves of energy into the spirit bomb. Just a few more seconds! Please give me that! Don't you like surprises? Don't play games with me! Wheelo whipped his arm around at high speed, sending a shockwave through the air that hurled Tien away like a rag doll. He bounced painfully, rolled and managed to land upright, leaving skid marks on the ice. Slowly, he stood again, raising his arms. Wheelo shuddered with anger. Stop doing that! I will not tolerate... Tien's eyes snapped open wide. Now, you want me to stop? Want to know what I'm doing? What? You're done! Tien shouted, swinging both arms down and letting the spirit bomb fly down towards Wheelo's robotic body. What are you talking about? Waving your arms around like... Wheelo paused, noticing that the area around him was getting considerably brighter. Slowly, he looked up. That's not the sun. He realized with a jolt of surprise the speed with which it was hurtling at him. Damn it! He quickly immersed his body in red energy, releasing it all up at the spirit bomb. There was a brief struggle between the two opposing energies, but the spirit bomb finally overwhelmed Wheelo's counterattack, colliding with his arm and detonating. Tien threw himself to the ground, shutting his eyes against the brilliant flare of light. Earth's energy. More from the surrounding planets. And ours too. This has to work! Slowly, the light faded. The smoke began to clear. Though still able to stand, only Tien and Krillin slowly approached, warily reaching out with their ki senses. Suddenly, Tien took a step backwards, fear clouding his face. No! It can't be! And yet, though it was less than half of what it had been before, Dr. Wheelo's ki was still very much there. Oh, come on! Krillin moaned. We've thrown everything we've got at this guy! What gives? Wheelo now stood fully revealed. His raised blocking arm had been completely destroyed, loose wires hanging from the empty shoulder socket. Cracks ran up and down his body. But, damaged as he was in a much better state than his enemies. What I want to know, Tien said warily, is how some random scientist out of nowhere can build a robot that's more powerful than we are. He noticed a small figure, energy masked, rising slowly up behind Wheelo and stealthily gliding towards him. He decided to keep the doctor talking for a while. I keep my eyes and ears open, Wheelo said as he approached. I've observed many things, and your battles were among them. They haven't exactly been easy to miss. I've salvaged technology from battle sites, scanned your abilities, and figured out the source of your elusive ki powers. It's all thanks to you, in fact. My bio-warriors that you encountered earlier were previous attempts to create a being that could defeat you. It seems, with this robot body, I finally succeeded. Dr. Giro called, he wants his shtick back. Tien thought glumly to himself. Still, it does explain the Cybermen-looking things, and the guy with instant transmission. Well, I wouldn't say that. For one thing, the spirit bomb made an opening in his armor. That shoulder's now a massive weak point. Cracks cobwebbed out from the stump. Oh really? Wheelo gloated. Well, even that last attack failed to finish me, though I am surprised that it managed to outpower my planet geyser weapon. I was going to save that to just wipe out the planet if all else failed, but I was forced to use it just to survive. In any case, though, you failed, and I've won. And with that, he raised a foot, aiming to crush Tien. Goodbye. I think someone wants to have a word with you, Tien said. What? Word? Wheelo paused, totally confused. What are you— Kienzan! Krillin, just now hovering silently inches away from Wheelo, let loose the very last dregs of his energy into forming one final attack, throwing it directly into the weak point on Wheelo's shoulder. It carved into the massive wires, slicing deep into the robotic body and causing the cracked segments to explode outwards. Uncontrolled electricity hissed and spat up and down Wheelo's body, his limbs twitching and jerking. Krillin wasn't done though. Guess who picked up a trick from Cell? He swung his arm upwards, remotely controlling the disc, sending it up towards the brain compartment. The robot's inside, nowhere near as well protected as the outside, was no defense. The Kienzan flew up and up, inevitably slicing through the section that housed Wheelo's disembodied brain. No! No! You can't do this to me! No! No! At this point, the screams of protest stopped as Kienzan and brain met. The result was extremely messy, and it was fair to say the Kienzan won. All his strength gone, Krillin sank to the ground, falling onto his back. We won. Here. Tien sat down next to him, exhausted. Who needs Super Saiyans, eh? They sat for a minute or two in silence, enjoying the peaceful quiet. Then, however, a large creaking noise emanated from Wheelo's robot's legs, and it began to fall. Say, is it just me? Krillin said slowly. Or is he falling towards that mountain there? Yeah, Tien said, nodding. And it would be fair to say that that impact is going to THUD! To disturb that quite unstable-looking mountainside of snow? It would. It would. Krillin sighed. Let me guess, you're not in any state to fly either, huh? Abruptly, and just as the avalanche began to roll towards them, Dende and Mr. Popo reappeared again. Hey, you did it! Dende cheered, oblivious. You won! I'm so glad! Ignoring him, Tien answered Krillin's question. No, I am not. Krillin sighed again, closing his eyes and resigning himself to a cold and wet few minutes in the near future, as a wall of snow crashed into them. Wonderful. So that's the end of Dr. Wheelo. What an interesting fight. Without Super Saiyans, the Z Fighters were able to hold off an opponent that was almost out of their league. But not quite. Anyway, thank you for listening to Chapter 60, 61, and 62. Tune in next week. Things will calm down a little bit before we get back into the meat of things with the Countdown Saga. What'll happen next week? You'll just have to wait and find out. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Tell your friends. Follow me on Twitter to keep up to date with the show. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe. Ginger Powers, signing off.